All right. So one question that we get quite often is, do I need a corporation or LLC if I'm self-employed? And I get this question so often, and I get really nervous when everyone quickly creates an LLC and doesn't recognize that they have filing requirements. So the second you create an LLC, you created a whole other entity. Mm-hmm. And we were talking on the podcast the other day about how I like to think of it as like giving birth to another human being, because you suddenly have all these responsibilities and obligations to take care of this new, entity that exists.
Yeah.
So with this new entity, you will have, in the state of California, if you create an LLC or a corporation, you have a minimum of $800 to pay every year, no matter what happens.
Wow.
To the state of California. And if you are someone who's just doing a small amount of work, right? If you're doing $3,000 to $5,000 worth of work over the year, and you pay $800 to the state of California, and then you pay the tax preparer to file your tax return, most of your income's already gone in just that.
Yeah.
I don't always recommend to jump the gun and make the LLC right off the bat. We were talking about earlier is to make a DBA. It's a very straightforward process, and you can have it for 5 years. And until you have a certain threshold of income, usually my recommendation is around 30,000 is where I start to feel like, the taxes are so high, the cost of having that corporation is worth it. So at that stage, I think it's worth it to make a separate corporation. With making the corporation, you have a few steps. LegalZoom does it, but they miss a few of the local things to take care of. So if you're in LA County specifically, then you do need to file additional forms. But let's backtrack a little bit. So to create a corporation, the first step is you file the Articles of Incorporation in the state of California. Then you create your employer identification number, which is your EIN number that we talked about earlier, under the IRS. And then you will also file your Statement of Information filing with the Secretary of State of California, your city license filing, which is in LA County. And then aside from that, you will want to do a few additional filings like your annual minutes. This is a lot of different things though, and I do recommend not to give a heavy push, but we do file corporations. We create corporations in-house. And if you, while I know LegalZoom is a great cost-effective option, they tend to miss a lot of these smaller local things that do need to be filed. And I find a lot of times I get someone coming back to us 3 years after having made the corporation, not having all this knowledge and having penalties. We talked about city license, which is harrowing.
That'll be its own video.
I know, it really deserves its own video, especially that way. It really deserves its own video. But yeah, you don't want to miss out on all these details. So once a freelancer is at a stage where they've made over $30,000, I think at that stage, it's really good to create a separate corporation. I recommend an S corporation, so you can create an LLC on the state side and an S corporation on the federal side. That has the best tax benefits, especially for someone who's starting out a smaller business. And then start there, and down the line you can change the corporation type if you need to. But first thing is, you're really small and you want a name, make a DBA. As you start to grow a little bit more and you hit that 30,000 mark, then at that stage it's worth it to make an S corporation with an LLC on the state side and get taxed through there. I hope I covered everything on here.